Hello everybody, and welcome back to more Diablo 3. It's been a while, but a new PTR is up, and that's what you're seeing in the background. This is for patch 2.4. Another season will leave us soon, and another yet will come with season 5, season 5, I think it is at this point. I don't know, it's season whatever. I think we're on season 4 right now. I love Diablo, as many of you already know, and I play every single season. I'm always on the leaderboard by the end of the season for one of the classes that I'm playing, and this patch has me so excited for this game. Like, if you were ever at the point where you're like, Diablo looks cool, but I don't know if I should pick it up yet, you know, it seems like I'm too far out of the loop at this point, or you're just like, you know, I haven't played Diablo in a while, I may as well come back. Or if you're like me and you're like playing every season and you're looking forward to this patch, you know exactly what you're looking forward to, because this is, in my opinion, easily the biggest patch they've done since Reaper of Souls. In fact, they're adding more, or as much, if not equal to, or more than legendaries than they added with Reaper of Souls, and man, they just nailed it with this patch. There's so many cool things. First and foremost, there is a lot of interface changes that you might be noticing down at the bottom. Because before, you could have so many buffs that it would just go off of the buff bar on the bottom, and you couldn't see some really important buffs, like damage buffs that you could be getting, or even, you know, some of your, you know, buffs that you're getting from other people that are really important. But now they've changed that, so basically what will happen is, like, passive abilities that you're getting from other people will stack into, like, one icon, and then you just hover over that icon and you could see all of them, which is pretty cool. Whereas, like, the playing in a group with friends, or in this case being on the PTR and getting additional loot bonuses, that's all up in the top corner where it says Torment. You'll see, like, a little icon there for, like, the loot one. And then things like, you know, abilities that stack attack speed. So, for instance, my left-click ability, my slash, it's attacking really quick, but it's a stacking buff, so it stacks attack speed up to 10 times on it, and it shows that on the ability itself, which is really, really cool. And then it also does that with passive abilities on the bar and, like, how long it's lasting. You know, you'll see, like, the little green bar above my slash. That's, you know, how long that buff is going to last for. And it does this throughout all of the abilities that do this now. And it's such a big difference, you have no idea. Like, it seems super simple, just like a minor interface change like that, but it makes such a big difference in the higher play of Diablo, because, like I said, there were times where those buffs that were really crucial to know if you had or not, or what kind of buff you had, if it was like Convention of Elements, which changes a bonus to certain elemental damage once every couple seconds. You want to know what it's on, so that way you can benefit from that. Well, now that's all different, which is really cool. Also, some other minor changes, like you can change the damage numbers to be shortened. So it'll say like 720M, which is like 720 million, which is really cool. Or it'll say like 2220M, and that's 2 billion basically. So it's kind of cool that it shortens it, because it does actually relieve some of the thing that we call screen herpes. It's a term that me and the guys have been throwing around because it's very true. Sometimes there's just so much on screen when you're playing with other players that it is like an STD on your screen. It's really hard to see what's actually going on. But enough of that, right? Let's talk about what I'm doing in the background. I'm playing a non-optimal build that I'm messing around with one of the new Crusader sets. So Invokers has been in the game for quite some time. It was basically a set that was designed at its inception to do Thorns damage with the Crusader when it came out, because the Crusader had a lot of Thorns stuff. Now, Thorns damage is when an enemy attacks you, it takes that damage back to it. Not the damage that it did to you, but a percentage of your Thorns damage, which is, it's a cool idea. It has a good, like, gameplay fantasy where you just walk around and everything dies by touching you, which is, it's a cool play style. When you think about it, it would be a lot of fun, because you would then make your character like an uber tank that doesn't take a lot of damage, but, you know, instead just tries to get everything to attack them, because they then take that Thorns damage, which is really cool. But when the set was designed, it didn't perform because Thorns damage wasn't that strong. So in this patch, they redid Thorns damage. They redid this set, the Invoker set, which now only drops for Crusaders as of the last patch. And it's a Crusader-only set. But basically what happens is your slash, so your primary skills, when you attack, your slash and your punish, they will do a stacking buff, which increases the amount of Thorns damage you have. You'll see like a little coffin on my bar there with like spikes popping out of it. That's that stack. So it stacks it by a percentage. I think it's 25%, but keep in mind any of the numbers will change in the future because this is the PTR. So every time I stack it, I'm stacking it by a ton. So my Thorns damage is increasing. And then the 4-piece bonus is whenever you use Bombardment, you gain 50% damage reduction, which is akin to the other Crusader set, which is the Burden of Light, I think is what the set bonus. The one with the hammer, so you're doing all the hammered in stuff. That was when you use Falling Sword, you gain 50% damage reduction. But it's easier to keep this one up because there is a belt that I am using, which is every 6 seconds I cast Bombard on enemies. It just happens naturally and passively, so I don't actually have to do anything for it, and that stacks that buff up. I'm also using Bombardment on my bar. I think with the... See, this is the difficulty. Like, the Bombardment has a new passive that makes it so it does Thorns damage, right? So I'm using that rune on it, but I don't know how much damage it actually is equating to. It's hard to tell. I'll have to do some testing on that. So it may be the fact that I wear the belt, but then I use a different ability in place of Bombardment on my bars. But there's another belt you could use, which slash attacks in all directions, which is where a lot of that damage is coming from that I'm doing. Because the 6-piece bonus is your Thorns damage is basically applied with your is added to your primary skills, your slash and your punish, if that's how I remember it correctly. But I'm also using a weapon that all of my Thorns damage, like a percentage of my Thorns damage, you can go up to 100%, is added on each attack, which is a huge damage bonus. And there's just all this stuff, like my number 1 ability, which is Iron Skin. When I use it, increases my Thorns damage by 100%. My number 3 ability is Consecrate, kind of puts a thing on the ground that heals over time for anybody in it, but it also, with its new rune, does Thorns damage to everything that's standing in it, which is really powerful, especially when combined with my number 2 ability, which is Provoke, and that goes with the shield that I'm wearing currently on my character sheet. It's transmogged to a different one, I'll talk about that in a minute, but basically what that is doing is that shield makes it so anybody who's taunted takes double damage from Thorns. So think of it this way, any damage or any enemy that's taunted takes double damage from Thorns. So I hit 2, that happens. Then I hit 1, it doubles my Thorn damage. Then I hit 3, and it does a ton of Thorns damage, that number 3 ability, just the way that it procs with everything else, plus the stacking buff from the Invoker set. It's crazy. So you'll notice, like, I'll stack a ton of enemies up, and then when I hit 1, 2, 3 all at the same time, it just dissipates. So, like, everything just completely gets demolished by my Thorns damage. It's crazy. On top of this, I'm using Heart of Iron, which is an item that's been in the game for a while. It's a chest piece, but they just added a new effect, which is your Thorns damage is increased by a percentage of your vitality, which is really good. So instead of stacking strength on your main stat, you stack vitality. So then you get to this crazy number of health. I'm currently sitting at roughly 2 million health, which is a pretty big number. Most people are at like the end game, you're at like close to 1 million. If you've been doing like greater rifts a lot, but that's even pretty uncommon. Typically speaking, 800,000 is a pretty good number. So I'm at 2 million, and I don't have all ancient pieces. In fact, I don't have many ancient pieces, and I'm in Greater Rift 65. And this can be totally buffed, this build that I'm using, by switching out my number 4 ability, which I'm using as a way to stack everything together, which I don't need to be. But what I could do in place of that is in Kanai's cube put a different shield, because I'm using the Condemn shield, which is that number 4 ability. Instead, I should be using a shield. I don't remember the name of it exactly. It's like Akarat's Awakening. But the effect on it is it's a Crusader shield that whenever you block an attack, you reduce your cooldowns by like 1 or 2 seconds, which is really, really powerful with this build because you're blocking a lot. I'll go into that in a minute, but imagine if my wombo combo, my 1-2-3 ability that I'm using, where I'm taunting him, hitting Iron Skin, and then putting Consecration on the ground, and just watching him completely disappear. If I could do that way more often, my damage would just go exponentially. And that's kind of the goal of using that other shield. I just haven't gotten one on the PTR yet. I've obviously got one before because that's what my shield is currently transmogrified to, so it looks like that one, but it's not that one, which is unfortunate. So if I got that, I think I could almost double the output of this damage, which is crazy good, and I'm really looking forward to being able to try that out in the future. So this, once again, is an unoptimized build. I'm just messing around with the abilities I've put together, and probably like a month when the new season starts, I'll be able to put out an updated guide for this. But holy cow, man, this build is a lot of fun for me. I actually enjoy it a lot more than the hammer build. The hammer build got really annoying at the higher greater rifts because it turned into you basically running around throwing hammers just over and over as fast as you could, and it just was a lot of kiting, and it just, to me, it lost the fun of the build once you get to the higher greater rifts. But with this, I think it's fun because it actually has a lot of viability with like multiplayer groups. So imagine you were with a 4-player group. There is another weapon that you could potentially cube and have it as a passive, which is whenever you cast Consecrate, it casts it under each of your allies. So imagine you have some guy who's stacking all of the enemies up. You have like 100 enemies on top of each other, and then you hit your 1, your 2, and then you hit 3, and it goes under every single ally that you have, which is nuts because that's like quadrupling that damage, and it just would be so strong. So there's a lot of things that could make this build super good. We'll see if it makes it into the final build when the patch goes live. I hope it does because I'm really looking forward to playing this. It's a lot of fun. Not only is the AoE damage quite good, but the single target damage is actually surprisingly good. And you're just a walking god. You cannot die. It's almost impossible for you to die. I have some trouble with damage reflect because it reflects that Thorns damage back at me, which is quite a bit. But past that, I haven't really had any issues damage-wise. I can stand in most stuff. And where this is coming from is 2 new items. I have a chest piece cubed, which is not a new one. It's the Aquila Cuirass. I don't know how to pronounce it, but basically it's when you're above 75% primary resource, you take 50% less damage, which is really good. I have that in my cube. I'm not wearing it, but you'll see the buff. It's like the second one down on my bar there. And then finally, there's the new Justice Lantern effect, which is you gain damage reduction on a percentage of your block chance. And I have a passive on that makes it so I can't dodge anymore, but increases my block chance. I have a lot of block chance on my gear through the Justice Lantern itself and on my shield. And it's just all this stuff together really adds up and gives you a ton of damage reduction. So passively, when I'm doing these rifts, I'm sitting around like 200,000 or 200 million damage reduction without anything else procced, and it's really good. I can't wait for this freaking patch to come. It's just so good. There's a couple other classes I've been trying out. The new Demon Hunter melee set is super fun. I am really enjoying the new Barbarian stuff. So maybe I'll make a few videos on that. We'll see. I can't wait for all this new stuff, and I can't wait to share it with you guys and probably do another super long live stream when the season starts yet again. But with that being said, I freaking love this game. I continue to love this game more, and the fact that I have only ever paid for it that one time and not like buying these updates just makes me so happy and so confident in Blizzard right now. They're doing a fantastic job with this game, and if you haven't picked it up, now will be the time, because this next season, which will start before the end of the year, is just going to be the best Diablo has ever been. Even better than Diablo 2. But with that being said, we shall see you guys next time.